Welcome, everybody, to Answer the Call. We have a unique episode today. For those of you that are new to Answer the Call, it's a bit of a different podcast from a lot of the other Star Citizen podcasts out there, where it's just me as the host and one topic, which you can see below there, which today is a female perspective on Star Citizen. And we kind of talk about that topic. I give my points and opinions about whatever we're happening to talk about. And then I open up the calls to viewers from Twitch chat, or just viewers in general that can come into my Discord, which would be linked in the video description if you guys are watching on YouTube, and exclamation point Discord if you guys are watching on Twitch Live. And you guys can come in and discuss and make any points that you want about whatever topic we're having. But today's going to be a little different, where we were talking recently about the female model in Star Citizen, and I have very strong opinions about it not really being that important to me. Not something that I need right now in Star Citizen. It is absolutely something that needs to be there. I'm not sexist. I respect all people of all different walks of life. But just for Star Citizen's development, I look at, the technology that needs to be done and wonder if it makes more sense for the people working on the female model to be working on something else. And I didn't think it would be right for me to share my opinions and without ever getting an opinion from someone who actually is a woman, and someone that is a woman that is a fan of Star Citizen, and someone that I know has been around the project for as long as she has. So as you can see, we have a guest over in this section, and her name's Alysianah. And she does create content for Star Citizen, and she's a very good friend of mine. And I thought she would be perfect to bring on the show. So, Alysianah, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hello. And I guess I just want to start out and give a little background of yourself. How long have you been playing games for? How long have you been a gamer for?
I've been a hardcore gamer for about 20 plus years.
Okay.
All my kids game, nieces and nephews, and we've played every AAA MMO that's come to North America, except for maybe some of the JRPGs that come. We don't necessarily play all of those.
Okay.
But other than that, we've played them.
Are your kids excited for Star Citizen?
I was hoping so, but the project is taking a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I think it was one of your streams, or it may have been Saurus, who asked, what has happened in your life since you pledged for Star Citizen? I pledged in 2013.
Yep.
And since then, 2 of my 3 children have gotten married. Those 2 now have children. 3 of my children have bought houses, and they're not really gaming anymore. But I bought accounts for them, which I have liquidated their ships and sent the money over to sent these ships over to my account so that I could liquidate their ships.
Oh my God.
I'm not sure they're gonna play now.
That's hilarious. That's great. So you backed in 2013, and have you played most of the patches? Are you actively involved, or do you kind of check in every now and then to see what's going on?
I wasn't for the first 2 years. I was busy playing other MMOs, so I wasn't really worried about it.
Yeah.
But then sort of once the shine wore off of every game being sort of like World of Warcraft other than Guild Wars 2, I came back to Star Citizen, and then I've been regularly playing and checking in, and that's when I started creating content. So I've been following closely for about, maybe 3-4 years now.
All right. And then just a little bit more with Star Citizen, when you backed, or even now, what are you planning on doing in Star Citizen? Obviously, when the game is kind of fully developed, there's going to be a lot of options for us. And what's your style? What are you going to play when you play?
So when I first purchased the game, my package was the freelancer.
Nice.
And I thought I was going to be the female version of Mal from Firefly in space. Okay. I did salvage in EVE Online, and I really sort of like the open-ended play style. I'm sort of over the in-game checklists, missions, and quests. I want to really be able to go out and make my own way.
Okay.
But then they kept talking about all these amazing professions we were going to have. So 18 ships later, I think I'm trying everything except bounty, piracy, racing, and there's one other thing. But yeah, I want to try it all, really.
So, but just not super interested in combat, I guess, or PvP.
Yeah,
Okay.
only 2 ships or combat ships, the Saber and the Arrow. I enjoy being in PvP environments. It doesn't scare me. Every
Yeah.
MMO I've played, I've been on a PvP server.
Okay.
I don't start anything, but if you bring drama to my door, I'm going to address it.
Nice.
So I like the excitement of being in that kind of environment where you have to be on your toes, you have to plan, and you have to be strategic about what you do. But no, combat won't be a focus. I think my big ones are going to be food production if the endeavor is really great, the hospital if medical is good, and then luxury transport because I want to do sort of role playing tours like
Nice.
murder mysteries on my 890J and stuff like that.
Cool. So we can get into that a little bit because, what sort of content creation do you do for Star Citizen that people don't know you? Who are you as far as a content creator in the Star Citizen universe?
The thing that I enjoy and that excites me most about Star Citizen is the universe that they're building and the lore. So I have a website that pulls data automatically from the ARC star map and exposes it, to me at least, in an easier to read fashion for people who just want to understand everything that's there.
Yes.
And I'm an analyst in real life. And so I like to analyze, what we have, what's the composition of the star systems, how many different kinds of planets are there in the Banu systems versus in the UEE. And then I focus on the lore, what's going on in these systems, how will that play out in the universe that we're going to experience?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of content. I've done ship reviews for the ships that I own or the ships that interest me, but it's really more about the lore and the world that they're building that excites me. And so then I write fan fiction that uses those two things set in the Star Citizen universe.
And for every time I complain about the distance I'm traveling and how fast it's taking me to get there, Alysianah pops in Twitch chat and explains like in much greater detail of like why it is the way it is. It's pretty cool. So go. It's alysianahsworld.com. So make sure you guys go check that out. I'm gonna put the link in the YouTube video. The mods have put everything in Twitch chat. So you guys can see that if you guys are watching on Twitch. But yeah, it's been really fun checking out some of your stuff, and it's really detailed and it's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think let's get right into the main topic here. Is you're a female and there's not that many females involved in the Star Citizen project, at least that we know of. I mean, in a lot of cases, like I'll give an example. If I go to my YouTube channel and look at my analytics, it's 100% male that's watching. I know that that's not true because I know some females watch. Unless you're not watching any of my videos, Alysianah, which I don't think is the case because you've said that you have, and so obviously those analytics aren't correct, but at the same time, I know for a fact that the gaming community isn't this overwhelmingly male, yet the Star Citizen community is. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there are a lot of females probably that are waiting.
Yeah.
We've had the project is taking longer than some of us had thought or had hoped or whatever. We are where we are. But even some of the ones that were here in the early days have disappeared. We know they still have packages, Sophie Girl, Batgirl. I mean, they're off doing other things.
Yeah.
But on the analytics from my site, at least, so maybe it's because I'm doing lore. I'm doing more of the touchy-feely, right?
Yeah.
So the lore and then the fan fiction. My site is only 87% males.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And 13% women. Majority of my viewers are from Europe, Germany in particular.
Yep.
Which really, really surprised me, at least as a demographic. So I know that
doesn't surprise me at all. You know why? Because when I went to Gamescom, it was easily 50-50. Male to female at Gamescom. It was mind blowing how many. I never thought it would have been like that. That it was 50-50. And that's what told me that there's no way that the gaming community is as overwhelmingly male as I thought it was. Now maybe that's just Germany or just, that area around Europe, and maybe America's more predominantly male, but there's no way that it's as predominantly male as Star Citizen is. And yeah, so I just kind of wanted to continue to get your thoughts on that. Sorry for interrupting.
That's okay. This last go round with the with SitCon was amazing, and then the anniversary stream.
Yep.
And then we saw a huge influx of new players that came in from the last event. And I started to see comments on Twitter about there not being a female character for the first time, because you have new people coming to the game and they see this level of fidelity. They see all of this new technology. We have the first planet in game, but you don't have a playable female character yet.
Yeah. So do you think that that's the main reason why, or do you think? Well, yeah, I'll start out with that. Do you think that that's the main reason why that we're not seeing as many?
I think that could be part of it.
Okay.
I mean, I personally have never, ever played a male character, ever. I don't have an interest in playing a male character.
Yeah.
Until Hurston came and we have the first planet where we actually have atmosphere and we don't have to be in those spacesuits.
Yep.
I never bought any armor. I never bought any clothes because I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
Because it's sitting on a male character.
Yeah.
That's like not my character. I don't care about that character. But with Hurston, I was like, oh my gosh, I can finally get out of this spacesuit. Oh, I got to buy some clothes. So I did for the first time. So I think that could be a factor.
Okay.
I think the other part is, we're still so far away from the in-game state. Really, we have combat and a couple of profession types, early cargo, early mining. Yeah, those may not be the professions they're into. And if they don't just want to run around and do combat, well,
yeah,
not so much to do. So I think that's a factor as well.
Okay. So I'll ask this: when you play video games, do you try and emulate yourself in the game, or do you play characters? But obviously, that predominantly you're playing a female character.
Yeah,
you
I'm always sort of myself. Yeah,
I play the same way.
I'm not trying to role play in particular, but I'm making the kinds of decisions and choices that I would make.
Yeah.
Therefore, that's why I don't want to be a male character.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Do you think at all that it's, I spend most of my time like in the Twitch Star Citizen community, and I don't spend as much time as I would like on Reddit. I actually would like to spend more time on Reddit and Spectrum, and I now that I'm working, pumping all my hours into 3 days and having 4 days where I can have a lot more time, I plan on doing more of that. Do you think that there's any sort of like male, like too much testosterone going around in some cases where it makes the Star Citizen community somewhat unwelcome to females?
Nah, I don't.
You've never felt that?
So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I played Eve for 7 years on and off.
Yeah.
The last 2 years were solo, and I mean, you're talking about hardcore. Game there, a lot of testosterone just because of the environment.
Yeah.
Everyone tends to be aggressive in that game because it's a kill or be killed, and still, there was nothing that ever turned me off because men are doing this versus some other thing. Nah, I don't feel that way.
Okay. Yeah, I just figured maybe that because like just being, and why I mentioned being on Twitch, just being on Twitch, Star Citizen or just in general Twitch chat tends to be the extreme of everything, whether it's racist or sexist or anything. You do get a lot of that in Twitch chat, and the Star Citizen Twitch community is really, really good. But at the same time, I was wondering, because I do see, when you see a girl come in chat, I see comments every now and then.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's things like that.
Yeah.
So I was wondering.
There's always going to be idiots in game.
Of course. Yeah. Okay.
The one thing that does concern me, and I'm hoping right now it's a temporary sort of situation, is that we no longer have chat if you take off your helmet. And I, by and large, will not use voice in the general population. Not going to do it. There are a lot of people who don't do it for a variety of reasons, right? They're playing in an environment where they are not free to be vocal. You know, they're in a room with their family or their spouse is asleep or whatever's going on. So we need chat everywhere. Some things don't need to be about the experience of living in, space. It's just a game element. The same way I can see my health stats and whether or not I'm in an armistice zone, even if my helmet is off, I need chat. I don't chat in normal open spaces because I am a woman.
I was going to ask that.
Because anyone is going to be mean. No one is ever derogatory, but it's the opposite. I'm a hardcore gamer.
They're too friendly.
I don't want to be coddled. I don't want to be handheld.
Oh, okay.
And a couple of people, it's going to get creepy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Where they're going to follow me around in game or try to see where I am. And I've had situations where I've had to pay for name change services or switch servers, and it's not anyone being rude, but it just gets creepy.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be using general voice chat. Just not going to happen.
That is a really interesting point.
I need chat regardless of whether or not I have a damn helmet on.
I'm glad this is why I brought you here, because that's not something I would ever think about. That's not something that happens to me because I'm who I am. And I would have never thought, and I'm just sitting here going, how can we not use voice chat? Like, even while you're saying this, I'm like, but they want it to be real. They want it to be like real life. But then it's still a video game, and it's still, like, it's still that experience that, and you need to have fun and enjoy it. And if, like, you don't, just as a male, those are some things that I just never think about, because why would I ever have to? It's not an experience that I have to deal with. But that's super, super interesting that, and I'm sure
voluntary.
Exactly. And I'm sure many other females feel the same way about you that play games. I mean, I know we see it in Twitch all the time that there's girls on Twitch, they just want to come on and play games, and they have to deal with constant ridiculousness and not in the same way, not in the negative way, in the creepy way,
Right.
And it's man, the internet is a lonely place.
The last time I did it was H1Z1.
Oh, man, what a good place to play that with voice chat on.
It's still
what a good
open
game.
world, right?
Yeah.
Before they went to whatever happened with
you were doing
Battle
Just Survive.
Royale nonsense. Yeah, I was in the survival mode, and I don't remember why I decided to use it one day just to try it, and oh my god,
girl, there's a girl over here, girl, guys, girl,
proximity, and they followed me around the whole time I was on, killing things before I could get a chance to try and kill anything. It was like, oh geez. So yeah, not gonna happen in Star Citizen.
One of my most popular Twitch clips is I sat Emmy, my girlfriend, down when I was playing PUBG. And a guy came near her. She was playing it, and a guy came near her, and I said, "Just speak in chat. Just say I'm a girl." And he instantly drops a gun in front of her, and I go, "Okay, pick it up." And I go, "Now shoot him." And she was like, "I don't know what's going on." And then like she started shooting, and he was running around in circles, and then she eventually headshot him. It was a hilarious clip, but it's just like that, It like she got coddled because her voice is a different tone.
Right.
Than mine would have been when that guy would have instantly headshot or started punching me. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
And I could totally see from a hardcore gamer perspective that would be super annoying. Like I know when I play games sometimes that a lot of the situations on Twitch, because I have so many people that enjoy playing with me, that I end up getting carried a lot, and I don't actually get better at the game because I'm being carried by my friends who are a lot better than me. That was definitely the case with PUBG. Is a lot of my friends were much better, so I won games occasionally, but I never won them. My friends did, and that was annoying.
Exactly. And I mean, for those who are commenting about chivalry, that's one thing.
Yes.
But in a game, everyone is there to experience the content.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
They want to fight the boss. They want to be just as competitive. Otherwise, they'd be playing some other kind of game.
Exactly. Yeah. And in a game like this that isn't gonna hold your hand, and that's what's exciting about it. You don't want anybody else to hold your hand for you. You exactly want to do that. You want to experience the game the way that they want you to experience it, and it's gonna be a struggle, and that's what should be great about it. I
Yeah,
don't like
exactly.
Again, I don't like the travel times, but that's not the kind of struggle I'm looking for. But that's me. We'll see. We'll see what happens long term.
Yeah, I think people better get ready though.
Yeah. So based on your information, they're going to be, as we expand even further, it should get more and more interesting. But
But it
yeah,
depends. For all we know, they're using Stantum as the largest times now
okay,
because it's the only system in. And then the largest system will take on whatever the largest time was that we're
yeah,
experiencing now. So then everything else will scale down and back. But,
true,
who knows?
yeah. But I don't know. I don't have too much to add as far as like being a female in the Star Citizen community. But I really just kind of wanted to. Oh, I guess I can ask you this: is I feel super strongly, even after speaking to you, that now might not be the time for the female model. Obviously, I want you in game and having fun as much as you can. But just like you said, there's a lot of features that aren't ready for the game, that aren't working in the game yet, that need to be working. And again, I'm not a game developer, so I don't know what is a priority and what isn't. And I trust CIG knows what a priority is and what's not. So most likely there's a bigger reason behind going with the female model, and I think I know what it is, and I think we were kind of hinted at it in around the verse this week, where they showed how they were molding the armors to the females in game. And I imagine that's going to be needed for all sorts of things, like molding it to, molding armors that fit on other creatures and aliens. And maybe if they allow us to get, fatter and skinnier and all sorts of things that the armor is going to mold with the characters. So maybe this kind of technology to bring females in the game is more important long term. So there's a possibility that it makes sense to do it now. But just myself, knowing the little that I know, or knowing nothing at all, I would rather have those technical artists that are working on that, like Sean Tracy and his team, to be working on other features in the game and bringing those online. And yes, we're not going to be able to role play as ourselves, and we're not going to be able to feel that feeling in the game yet. But when it's not a game yet, why is the role play aspect important now? And I kind of wanted to get your feeling on it because obviously, number one, being a female, number two, interested in role play, number three, you've been here this whole time. And so like, what do you think about my opinion? I feel very strongly about it, but I also feel like I come off maybe as rude or sexist or something like that. And but just for me, I come from the point of I just want the game to come out as soon as possible. I want them to be as efficient as possible as far as developing the game.
I didn't think your opinion was rude, but I thought it was male myopic.
Yeah.
There are female backers, and
Of
it's
course.
insulting, I think, to
Okay.
female backers to think, let's deprioritize a female character.
Okay.
I think technologically, it's probably a good time for them to do it because there are other things, like you said, the armors and being able to change the body composition.
Mhm.
I think the longer they wait, the more backup work they have to do.
Yeah.
So if they get it in place now, how they're doing it, then when they add those features to be able to change what your character actually looks like, the system will already be in place, and the female model will morph with whatever tech they're going to use to do that. So it's probably why they're doing it now.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think sort of it bothered me.
Yeah.
as a female backer.
Okay.
That the female character, we've been hearing about it for
For a
multiple years
long
now.
time.
I know
Yes.
Batgirl was asking about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, people just sort of stopped asking about it because it was taking for so long. And
Yeah.
I was disappointed when it was moved back. And when females made comments about it on Twitter, I didn't bother to defend it because, I think she should have been in already, personally.
Okay. And that's what kind of opened up my eyes a little bit, was that it was very obvious that they're going to need to figure out how to mold everything anyway. So why not do it now? So it's funny, like I decided to choose this topic 2 weeks ago, and then we were going to do it last week, and you weren't able to come, and then it timed everything so perfectly with Around the Verse this week, because they showed how they were bringing the female model into the game. And what I love the most about this, about the implementation of it, is it's not that over sexualized female that you see in most video games. It's just the armor fitting on a female, like I guess maybe your average female character. And she just looks like another person in the verse, but you just know that she's female. But it's not this ridiculous, like, freak of nature, I guess, that you see in a lot of other video games. And what did you think about that? I mean, I love that about the way they're doing it.
Great.
Yeah.
I thought it was great, and I didn't expect anything less.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, they're going for a lot of realism, right? I'm standing around pushing buttons for elevators and waiting for elevators to come. I didn't expect them to do anything less, but to treat it respectfully and do it well. So I'm glad they are. I've just,
of course,
want it now. But it's good. And I'm good. The only two things that this game has, I've gotten upset about things, or you get tired of, delays, and then I don't rage about those things. I just go do something else for a while because I want this to be a great game. But the female avatar and how many systems we're going to have when they go MVP, those are the only two things that could really bring salt to my Star Citizen experience. So hopefully the female character will stay on track, and we're getting it, in 3.5? Or is it 3.6?
3.5, but it was supposed to be 3.3, then it was 3.4, and then
I'm
so
hoping it sticks
I don't even
to
bother
3.5.
anymore. I don't even bother anymore.
I hope it sticks to 3.5. I won't be happy if not.
When we're
but those are really the
3
only
weeks
two
out of
that
3.5
really...
and it's still there, then we're good.
Yeah.
That's
Other
how I
than
look
that,
at it.
I don't really worry about it. A ship can come and it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be from the concept. I don't rage about it. I melt it and move on. It's just those two things that are really key for me. That female character and how many systems we're going to have when we quote unquote release.
The one thing that I actually liked too from ATV is when I don't know if it morphed or if they just cut from the male running to the female running, they looked like they were exactly the same. And originally they were like, well, we need animations that are more female because females move differently, and it didn't look like she was running any differently than the guy was. And maybe that was something that was taking longer or whatever, but none of that bothered me, because that's why I felt strongly against bringing the model in, is because they weren't doing it in the simplest way. Whereas if they did it the way like I'm seeing it now, it's like, okay, let's make the armors work and fit on them and bring them in. And I thought they were trying to go into this like ridiculous amount of detail that was like, okay, well, a female's going to move just slightly differently than a male, but we're going to do 2 years of work to make it happen. It doesn't seem like that's what was happening. It seemed like, now I'm starting to understand it maybe a little bit better, is that the female was 2 inches shorter, and now they have to take the same animations that the male has and just make them fit on that character, is maybe how I'm understanding it now. And that's something where I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. I thought they were trying to take it to an extreme level where we're so early where you can implement a female in the game and create that immersion and allow someone like yourself to play as herself in the game and enjoy herself, especially now with voice over IP, even though that's not something that you necessarily are interested in doing. I think it can create that immersion and role play and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
that's when I was like, I immediately this week I'm kind of like changing my opinion on the way I felt about it, because I thought it was something way different than what at least we saw in ATV this week. And I'm glad that we spoke about it together, because I knew when I said what I was saying that you would be upset. But I never met,
You saw my chat, right?
No, but even
I was
before
like,
I saw
would
your
rage
chat.
the F quit.
Yeah, like even before I saw your chat, I knew it would upset you and other females. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, because I know what I was saying isn't fair. It's not a fair opinion, but it's just like, I don't know how any other way to feel, because I'm myself. So I always, me, I just always speak how I feel, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it or whatever, because I don't know what it's like to not be a character in game. Me personally, I don't go very much into the role play side of things. So if they came in with just female characters, I feel like I wouldn't be upset. But when you really think about it, if the shoe was on the other foot, I would be sitting in the same seat saying the same damn things. This is ridiculous.
Males would be raging.
Yeah.
So we know that some males do play females, right? That's why you see a lot of female characters that is disproportionate to the population of, women actually playing.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of men who don't. Like my son would never, ever play a female character.
Me neither, because I'm just like you. I like to play myself. I have dressed up as a female character before, but that was not by choice.
Trixie.
Yeah, that was not by choice.
I needed Trixie with Emma. With Emily.
Oh,
around.
she did not like that. She killed her. She killed her off.
Okay.
Yes, she didn't enjoy
Emmy
that.
Killed.
Yep. But like I was at Gamescom and we were waiting in line, and there was delay because Chris wanted to go over the demo like again or something like that. So they asked us to go outside and talk to the people in line and keep them kind of occupied or whatever. So we went outside and we were talking, and this guy comes up to me and he's 6'5", super tall guy, the deepest voice I've ever heard in my life. And he goes, "Hey, Twerk, it's nice to meet you." And I was like, "Oh, it's nice to meet you too." And I go, "Do you watch the stream?" And he said, "Yeah." And I go, "So what's your Twitch name?" And he goes, "Miss Kitten." And I was like, "What?" I was like, this whole time I thought you were a girl. Oh my God. So yes, males do play as females, not just in video games, but in Twitch as well. So yeah, it was
funny.
It's pretty funny. But we have two people that wanna call in. So you wanna get in a little call with a couple of our very regular callers?
Sure, let's go for it.
All right, they're muted right now, so I wonder what's going to end up happening. All right, we have ASN, and we're going to bring him in and see what he wants to add to the conversation. Hey, ASN, you're on Answer the Call. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, everybody. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
I'm good.
Doing good.
Really cool talk. Like, I really like Alysianah's opinions on the whole situation, and I also liked how you, Twerk, put the other side of the fence on stream, and it's like my opinion is going to be a bit more technical.
Okay.
So one of the things, I'm going to just throw out an example. Sorry. When I played GTA 5 and we played with a bunch of friends, a couple of characters were female, a couple were male, and there were these cutscenes in between the heists.
Mm-hmm.
And in those cutscenes, the animations for males would also play for females.
Yeah.
And every time a cutscene played, you would see a female character walking with her legs like spread out, like a dude, in like swinging, the weapon around as they're sprinting, and it looked so odd that every time I was like, this is just so bad. Like, it's such a bad implementation of a female animation. in a Rockstar game. Rockstar games are very famous for their advanced animation engines and their animation quality, and it kind of like bothered me.
Okay.
So like after I saw those simple same copy paste systems from male to female models in other games too, like I
Yeah.
kind of like looked at SC and like Star Citizen, and I'm like, yeah, they better not do that, because while the difference is really subtle and in the female and male animations, there is a skeleton difference.
Did you
Like,
see the
there's
difference?
yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I
but
just
it's less
didn't, but yeah.
visible. It's less visible with the entire armor on, because
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
yeah, because the difference is more in how the rib of the skeleton is set up rather than how the movements are.
Mm.
So it's how different parts of the muscles and the bone structure in the engine move in comparison to the what you just see on the armor moving. So they need to showcase it better on ATV, I think, because I'm pretty sure they did it. Because if they hadn't done it, it would have looked much more odd. Because if
Gotcha.
you take one animation from the male model, which is larger and whatnot, and just like make it smaller, it just doesn't work like that. There's a lot of work trying to make it look as right as possible.
Yeah.
So that was like my opinion on that, and I really like, as you said, that it's not sexualized, and like that's
Yes.
awesome, because
That was very important to me that they didn't
Yeah,
they did
it's-
it that way.
some of I'm not gonna like diss on Asian MMOs, but some of
They're
the Asian
ridiculous.
MMOs
Gosh. Ugh.
just
They're
like take it
ridiculous.
so far.
Yeah, I actually get like offended by some of those where, you're leaning over showing your draws when you run the whole time you play. That aggravates.
What did
Yeah.
Conan Exiles? That game was ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, with the boob physics nonsense,
Well,
where they
the
found
dong
out that the
physics
female
were on another
characters
level.
were- oh, sorry. I was talking about Conan the MMO.
Oh no.
Originally, they had boob physics in the game, where if the female characters swung a sword, it was slower. And when people found out, they raged.
What?
And they
Wow.
fixed it. Yeah.
Wow.
But boob physics, I understand when like developers want to use certain stuff on bodies that actually move around. That's fine. But
Like
then you
hair?
see examples of yeah, exactly.
Hair's
But you see
good.
examples of boob physics on the extreme, literally just they want to create a fondle simulator. Like that's kind of like their intention probably, and it's just too much. And I know those games aren't meant to be realistic. They're meant for an audience that's kind of like Star Citizen's audience. They're just different consumers on that side of
That's
the spectrum.
To be fair, that's such like a cop out though to say that, right? Because it's
Yeah, it
obvious
is.
that they're doing that on purpose to either be like funny or edgy or to draw attention to it,
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and it's kind of like they use those as to draw people
Yeah.
that are looking for that stuff. I mean, I was looking at Black Desert Online from Pearl Abyss, like the guys who bought CCP,
Mhm.
and I've been looking at that for a couple of years because one of my friends started playing, and I looked at the character creator and I'm like, oh my god, this is just like wow, like you're creating a character model with lingerie on, and you can see like a lot of like body for like what is the reason? It's like the entire reason is to sexualize kind of, because
Yeah.
you can't do the same thing with guys. If you would be able to do it with guys, I would say it's pretty fair.
Well, you
But,
can though, but you're a guy and you may not be attracted to a guy.
Yeah, but like I'm
So
talking
is-
about games that
You know,
don't
like
allow you to sexualize your character as a guy.
that's fine, but like I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot here, Alysianah, but I might be, but I'm going to. I'm sorry. But like the male model in Star Citizen, he's got a nice body. Is that not sexualizing it at all? I don't know. I mean, it's not whipping his thing out, but he's in
I
shape.
think by and large, though, all the MMOs that I've played, all the games, the bodies are in shape, except like The Sims, right?
Yeah.
Where you can create ultra thin or overweight characters, but yeah.
But do
To
they
me, that's not
sexualize
sexualized.
males
They always
as well?
put fit.
Fit, not huge.
Yeah, right. To me,
Yeah.
they look fit. Now, the broad chest to me is just, I mostly play up until Star Citizen, and with the exception of Eve and Pirates of the Burning Sea, play fantasy games. So that broad-chested,
Yeah.
big muscled male to me seems part of the genre of
Rather
a
than
hero,
yeah. Yeah.
versus
Okay.
because it's a male,
Gotcha.
in my opinion.
Okay.
Like about the Star Citizen character, I think it's good, kind of okay to start at a body proportion that's as slim as possible for technical purposes, and then later on, once they advance with their armor tech and their clothing tech, which when it can form into the physicalized body, they could add a thin fat slider later on, like years later probably. But
Yeah.
I see it as a possibility to create a bit more of a character, because you don't want every body in the game to be a clone of each other.
Wasn't that question asked? And I thought CR said yes.
Yeah.
Or
I
was
mean,
that just height?
I don't remember if they said that, but there needs to be definitely a more customization on body fat or muscle or whatever, like shoulders and that stuff, like later on, obviously. But right now
they
it's
just
just
Well, they just recently said we should. The height is more of the issue rather than doing some expanding and contracting to reasonable levels, not extremes, from what I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, the height is the issue because of the cockpit seat
Yeah,
and all the preset animations on that. Yeah.
yeah. So and I think that that's what they're kind of working on now with what we saw in ATV is they're able to shrink things down, so they should be able to expand and contract. And we even saw their work with, like, remember where they showed how they were getting like sunglasses and helmets and stuff to fit on characters of all different shapes and sizes. So I think they're working on the tech to see that come to
Yeah.
life. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything
But
else you want to say? Because we have Cayman on the line as well.
Well, yeah, like the last thing I want to say is it's great to have the females coming in sooner than later now, because I've last checked, it was like 80% done, and
Yeah.
now we're seeing ATV footage of it being complete. So yeah, like
If they're showing it
as
on ATV, I
as-
think they're comfortable having it come out on the next patch as well.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah.
really good sign.
As Alysianah said, there are a lot of new people coming in on Twitch right now, and like we've we've kind of ran into each other and on Twitch chat several times, and like the female gamers that are coming in, like
Yes,
one of
they
the
are.
first things they're saying is like, oh, I can't create a guy, I can't create a female character.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the first thing they say, and then chat is like, oh, it's coming in, like, and I'm like, okay. And then they play, and
they
it's
haven't
all
had to sit
guys.
here for 5 years waiting.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like one of the first things they notice, and that I noticed them noticing it first when they get into
Interesting.
the game. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, that's about it.
All right.
Have a great day and a good podcast.
Nice chatting.
Thank you, as always.
Later.
Thanks, ASN. All right, and our second and final caller for the day is Cayman, who is another regular and MVP of the show. Cayman, what's up, man? You're on Answer the Call with me and Alysianah this time.
Good morning, Twerk and
morning.
Alysianah.
Hey, Cayman.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course.
I found the conversation extremely interesting, as I knew I would, especially when Alysianah was explaining how treatment from male players dilutes her enjoyment and gets in the way of her trying to experience, the game's challenges on equal grounds. It's certainly something many of us don't have to think about, and it gives me some food for thought personally.
Mm-hmm.
With regard to female models, I recall actually, and I was going to say this last week, but I went to reserve it for this discussion, because you and I talked about female models a bit with the realistic talk.
Yeah.
But I recall Jared entering the AstroPup stream a couple of weeks ago, and Paul Shelley was in Alysianah's camp. He was explaining how many female gamers wanted those models really badly, and he criticized CIG heavily, claiming that they didn't care and that this was illustrated with the lack of the existence of female models in the game. And Jared said that was BS in his chat. And
I agree with Jared. I think that it's complete BS, but yeah.
Yeah, he explained basically that this was an ongoing priority for them, and eventually we all I think are starting to come to the understanding that they have been putting in that work and working very hard. The ATV timing, like you said, was perfect, and we're all starting to come to understand the potentials there. Because I have a background in character modding. I'm not an artist, I'm not a professional, but I do have a background in that, and I can tell you that their particular implementation here is pretty brilliant, and it should address some of your concerns, Twerk, with regard to their production speed and that being slowed down. I really think that this blend shape implementation is very smart. So yeah, like you had asserted, with the alien races and figures and other types of figures like body sizes, that's going to be a big potential for them to streamline that animation and armor morphing process.
Right, and they needed to figure it out sooner than later.
Yeah.
And
the reason I say it's BS is not because the reason I say it's BS is because I really think that it was a priority for them this entire time. And if I understand correctly, it goes back to one of the panels that they did at CitizenCon, again, where they showed the helmet growing and shrinking and all the technical hurdles that they had trying to get this to work. And that's why we always saw the female model on the roadmap, or it's coming, we're working on it, because it always was a priority. But as always with everything in this game, it's not the priority that shifts a lot of the time. It's they find a new way to do it, and there's a technology that comes that they find out about, or there's a solution, but it takes time to implement it. And I think that's what happened with the female model throughout the last, 2 years that we've kind of been hearing, it's coming. It's been at least 2 years at this point. So that's why I agree with Jared that that's BS, is because I don't think CIG put women to the side and said, they're not important, we need to work on something else. Like,
I never thought that.
And I think now listen, I didn't see that show, so I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that's, you were there, came in, and that's kind of what you implied. So I'm just going off of that. But what I think happened is exactly what we saw in that panel. And I believe they said, we hit a wall and we didn't know what to do. So we set it aside and worked on other things because we didn't have a solution to the problem. And then somebody came up with a solution to the problem, and then it created, that worked for this little problem, but there's still other problems. And then they went back and forth. I wish I knew which panel that actually was. It was the one with, I think his name was Hervo or something like that.
Evo Herzog.
Yeah. It was one of his panels. He was on 2, if I'm not mistaken. And that was the one that they explained it with helmet-wise. But it seems to me, and I don't know, I'm sure somebody can correct me in Twitch chat or in the YouTube, that those two things, the female model and those kind of accessories issue, are related. And when they figured out the accessory problem, I guess, they figured out the female model issue as well.
I'm going to speculate and say that I don't necessarily think that they hit a roadblock technically. I just think that it was a very long process for them, because blend shape technology has existed for years. I mean, I use that in Skyrim. So it's very much an existing thing, and it's very smart what they're doing. And Maya and, optimizing the workflows by creating tools in Maya that makes their production tooling really efficient and snappy is also really important. But I would imagine that the other challenges, if I were to think of this, I think that the bigger challenge was getting everything to work with cover systems and the more outlying factors, more than just the technical challenge of making things fit properly. So I think that there was a lot of challenges here, but I think it was more the outliers that needed to be solved, because those are always the most difficult with a game as high fidelity as Star Citizen. But it was a really heated exchange between Paul and Jared for a moment there, and I kind of appreciate that from Paul, because it he really did try to represent the female perspective, and it made me start to think about it a lot heavier. And then you coincidentally started to touch on this. So it really, I think it is in the gamer's consciousness right now, in this particular community especially. But with regard to the sexualization and female character customization, I think that's an interesting line too, because good female character customization can draw female gamers to your game without them feeling disrespected. I mean, you look at Elder Scrolls Online, ESO, and its customization and dye system and plethora of interesting playable races and cosmetics are very attractive, and it has a pretty enduring female player base. I don't know the exact numbers, and a number of them are also content creators for that game as well.
Have you played that game, Alysianah?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
But I think not to stereotype, but some things are, based partially, in fact. There have been studies, and women do think about and play games differently than males. They tend to be the healers and the nurture type characters in games, and that's not everyone.
Of course
But
not.
there is a large percentage. Therefore, there are going to be things about a game that are going to be more important to a female gamer than perhaps, a male counterpart. To go to another example, Pirates of the Burning Sea. Now, this is back when, I mostly blogged, and my blog was much bigger back in the day when I had time, and Massively and other channels used to pick up a lot of my articles. I noticed that when I went into the beta, and I picked a female character, of course, that my body looked like they had taken a male body and just lopped on a female head. And it was so distracting. Every time I saw my character, I'm like, what the heck? They couldn't have done that because that would just be crazy. So, I did a write up on how I felt about the beta. And Russell, the CEO, I forget his last name, he came into the blog because they Massively had picked it up and said, actually, that is what they had done because they had run out of time. I'm like, what? How do you run out of time and make that sort of decision? And now it impacts your game like forever, dude.
Yeah.
And a lot of women started talking about it like, this looks like crap. And yeah, I didn't play. I don't remember if I refunded, but whatever. I didn't play, and, they got a lot of bad press about it.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And, I think that you are right about the stereotypes in large degree. And I'm actually going to touch on that. I was actually going to touch on that next because that's an excellent point. I was just going to say just one final point regarding the customization. I'm going to reiterate what you all said, that pushing it too far, I think, is kind of the problem. I can imagine that when you go to the extremes like the JRPGs that you all mentioned, it can be very alienating and disrespectful, not necessarily because that content exists, but because too much of that content, being prevailing in terms of the options for female characters can attract a certain player base that makes that experience a lot worse for female characters, like Alysianah described. And just going into the analytics, and this is my main point, because I really wanted to be objective about this and not just bring my feelings into the matter.
Yeah.
So there was an analytics company named Quantic Foundry that took a fascinating survey of 270,000 individuals, where they were analyzing the demographics and the genre preferences for video games. And female gamers made up only 18.5%, which flies in the face of the 40 to 50% figure that we often hear. And this is because the polling in some of those surveys use a very small sample size of several thousand people, and include really loose designations for what could be considered a gamer. So like a grandma playing solitaire every once in a while could easily count, but practically speaking, she's not really a gamer. So this polling, focuses on a vast, array of genres and very specific games and genres, and it, very analytically breaks it down. And what I found most interesting was, again, the genre and what they're called motivation categories. And this touches on what Alysianah was talking about. And they found that female gamers overwhelmingly prefer match 3 games like Bejeweled, where you match 3 things together, but they overwhelmingly avoid sports games and shooters, but have an outlying preference for games like World of Warcraft, which skews the female demographic of the fantasy MMO category quite significantly because it's at 32%. But in sci-fi MMOs, such as Star Citizen, there's only half as many females at 16%, and that's a high figure. So based on these statistics, the Star Citizen community is and probably will be overwhelmingly male, but I actually question that because I see Star Citizen, and here's where I begin to speculate. As an MMO, as a sci-fi MMO, I think that Star Citizen, because it's so unique, it's going to perhaps hit this critical mass where it caters to the motivation factors many female gamers statistically have, while at the same time catering to the traditional motivation factors that male gamers have of competition and destruction. So we know that there's going to be the endeavor and farming, like you all touched on, and some degree of land management. The study also found that female gamers are into farm sims, family sims, like Alysianah said, kind of a nurturing, a more passive role. But this is very, very much represented in the facts, in the objective analysis of female gamer motivation. And Alysianah noted before, I follow your content regularly, Alysianah, and, I've spoken with you in
Thank
Twitch chat
you.
before. No problem. And you said that you had a Mako, a 600i, a Genesis Starliner, and I looked at a lot of your videos in the past. So these kind of all touch on these sort of non-combat focused roles. So again, I think that maybe Star Citizen will touch this sort of critical mass where it can attract a broad female audience, similar to what WoW did, because WoW's female demographic is unusual. It is unusual for there to be a lot of females playing MMOs, at least as of 2017's data. But I find that to be a real possibility for Star Citizen as well. But on the flip side, Alysianah in her 3.0 video, you gave this really well-deserved but pretty uncharacteristically scathing review of the state of the game, where you basically said, I just want to open the effing door. You commented that the fidelity that they're aiming for was implemented so clunkily and poorly that it actually works against their representation of fidelity that they're going for. So there's this idea that Twerk also shares with you of just wanting this good, accessible gameplay, not being occluded by realism or immersion for its own sake. So my question is, I'm wondering what, Alysianah, what your thoughts are on how you believe this sort of high fidelity vision Star Citizen has and the broad scope of features that they're only aiming for will affect the appeal to the female audience.
Oh gosh. Okay. I'm going to do like people do on Reddit. I love Star Citizen. I love CIG. And here we come with the... But personally for me, I don't need the level of immersion and fidelity that they're going for when it creates what I call fiddly bits. I don't want to have to touch, click everything as part of the gaming experience. I don't need that. The big one that I'm not that huge a fan of are the end-to-end animations. For me, clicking a box and having it just pop in my hand has never bothered me in any other game. Ever. I just suspend my disbelief for that moment, and I would have been fine with that in Star Citizen. And I think it bothers me a little bit because I think the level that they're going for is going to create, and in some cases already exists for me, uncanny valley. They're trying to get so close, but they can't get it perfect.
No,
so
it'll never be.
It just stands out to me.
It's the getting in the ship animation's the worst.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And the minute you have to start thinking about, okay, we're going to come up with a way for you to shorten and escape these animations, tells you it's a problem.
Yeah.
Tells you it wasn't necessary, because now we have to come up with a way to let us get out of them. When I watch the NPCs walk around and the AI locomotion that they're going for, it's impressive. Hats off, give them that. But when I see them trying to navigate around each other and suddenly they put on this Jeeves maneuver. So Jeeves is like a British butler, and they're sort of sidestepping each other like, excuse me, ma'am. And these are men in, gear. I'm thinking, what the hell? I mean, it immediately takes me out of the moment. I'm like, why? Just walking past each other in every other MMO has worked fine. And the fact that I can't do delivery missions with my Herald because, oops, they forgot you need an animation to walk up a damn ladder with a box? Those kind of things really frustrate me. So I know there are people who really want that. But I think we need an option for those of us who don't want that and have never needed it. And there have been a lot of other successful long-term MMOs to not have to deal with it, to be quite honest with you. So that's probably the other bug that kills me is all these end-to-end animations. I just don't feel they were necessary. And I think they added to the project in a way that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to bring anything to female gamers because we've been playing other MMOs just fine without them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I found that commentary that you gave so well put about 3.0 because it ties into Twerk's opinion too, and it really does make me think about the alternate side of are they going too far with the immersion? Are they really going to bring on and be able to have high retention of players, not just female players, but players in general with this approach that they're going for. And it just really does give me food for thought. And I thought it was an excellent point. But yeah, Torque, I just wanted to thank you, so much for coordinating this. And yeah, it just really was a pleasure talking to both of you.
Oh, well, thanks for coming on as always, man.
It was nice talking to you, Cayman.
All right, you too. Take care.
Bye, Cayman. All right. Well, we actually had one more person pop in, so and he's a good guy, so we're gonna bring him on, and we'll make it pretty quick, but then we'll end this one after this call, and it's Weirder Chimp. So hopefully Weirder's internet is good. He's from down under, so we'll see. All right, Weirder, welcome. You're on Answer the Call. How you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
Pretty good yourself?
Good. You sound great. I thought your internet might be a problem, but it's good.
Nah, I'm on mobile now, so
Perfect.
so I just want to, rather than talk about like the whole like gender sex thing, because I think the whole like conversation is around like, should like if we implement something, how much is it going to take away from development, right?
Yeah.
Is that like what the whole like okay?
No.
So what about like
that was just like one of the points. That's not the whole thing. Like
Okay.
I'm more around like what it's. I more wanted to know what it the female perspective, what it's like to be a female and be in this community in particular.
okay.
But yeah.
So like the point I sort of want to touch on is like how much extra development or hindrance to development or whatever it would be to implement, not just like, let's not talk about like gender or sex, but let's talk about like body shape. So say if you wanted to have a large character or a smaller character, like taller, shorter, whatever, would you say that it would be worth them implementing that as well? Because it's pretty comparable to a different male or female.
I mean, I think it's just as important, but again, I'm not on that perspective, and we have males in game. But just not, you can maybe suspend your disbelief and say everybody's fit 1,000 years in the future because of genetics or some change that they made that we just don't get fat, or we're all have a certain muscle tone. But I think that would be weird because at the same time, like Alysianah said, and like I said, I'd like to create myself short, skinny, but not
because
not
it's about
6'2".
representing what you want to play in the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Alysianah? I think the thing is just I think the same tech that brings the females into the game seem to be bringing that same technology. So I think that they're related, but yeah.
So for me personally, I'm only hung up on a few things, about the character because I've played a lot of MMOs where there are stock faces and stock hairstyles and you can't do much. But when you can do a lot, yeah, I do tend to make someone who kind of sort of looks like me. And, I prefer that. But I do know women who, when they have the option, spend hours in the character creator. I mean, I don't do that.
I've seen sim streams and YouTube videos that are insane.
Yeah. I mean, even MMOs that do it. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So this is important. I've never seen a guy do that, though.
No.
So I think, these are sorts of things that are more important to females, possibly more than they are to males.
Yeah. So would you want like making your own body shape as well in the game? Like, would you want that to be like a slider or height slider or whatever to be in there as well eventually?
Yeah, that would be fine. I'm not hung up on the height and the weight. If I can get a female and sort of kind of looks like me, so to me, that means my skin tone, because I'm African American, and female, and, fiddle with the face and the hairstyles a little, I'm good. The rest, I can suspend my disbelief about. But when they're there, I use them.
Yeah. So
and
what, like,
we expect them to be here in this game, obviously.
Yeah. But things like the height of a character is like a big, I don't maybe hindrance is the wrong word for the game, but there's like a lot of extra stuff they have to do to implement.
Yeah.
Different clothes or whatever.
I wouldn't want them to do that just for height. Personally, I wouldn't want the extra effort. I mean, I'd like this game in my lifetime. So yeah, I don't want them doing that kind of stuff.
As nice as it would be to have
male characters.
as nice as it would be to have people like
Sorry.
line up and you see the difference in height, I think the difference in weight and okay, here's my take on it a little bit. Is you can do some difference in height. If they're able to take the female model and drop it down 2 inches, I mean, I don't know. That's the thing, is how much work has it taken? Is it going to take to get them to sit in the ships and look normal? Is that the problem that's taking so long, or is it more the animation side? Like that, those are some of the things that we just like don't have the answers to because we don't work there. But if you can take it down 2 inches, why couldn't you take it up 2 inches? And it should look significant enough where you can see a difference in some height. That would be nice, because I am short and I do, part of I play ice hockey, and one of the things that makes me feel good about myself sometimes is when I out physical a guy who is bigger and taller than me, because I was stronger on my skates, or I made the right decision. I'm 5'8", and when I take the puck from someone who's 6'2", it feels good.
Yeah, I would worry about I mean, we already have clipping issues, and
Yeah.
there's just one model in the game.
Of course.
So I would be afraid of them offering features that require them to rejigger too many things to avoid the clipping issues we already have.
Yeah.
So I think like not just introducing a female model, but even if they wanted to introduce like a taller or a bigger character, then there would be a lot more like overhead that they'll have to do. Because if they find that maybe an issue with there's an issue with the characters in general, we have to fix it on the male, the female, the tall skeleton, the short skeleton. I guess they need to, and they've already done this, but they needed to weigh up like, do we want to please our audience and also have all this extra stuff? Or do we want to keep it simple? And I guess that they've decided like, we want to try to please as many people as they can, which is like an obvious thing, because it's like, no doubt a female character needs to be in the game. It's like,
there's no one denying that.
Yeah, but it's like when they should have brought it in, I don't know. I think they should probably like focus on the game more and then definitely bring it in later. But there's like benefits to it as well. If they bring something in, so they've got their female character or their tall character or whatever, and they see, okay, there's an issue here, then they can adapt their pipeline so there won't be as many issues later on. Whereas if they didn't put the female character in, then they might not have even seen this issue, and then later on it might have been a massive issue to change everything over. So I don't know. There's multiple ways to look at it, but I don't know. I was just curious if we took it away from like sex and gender and all that sort of thing, if we just went to like tall characters, short characters, bigger or smaller characters, if it was the same sort of
argument or not. That's actually
yeah.
Because it's the same situation, but it's not at the same time. Yeah,
and there's like your gender and sex in game. It's a very like, I don't know, political subject, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, and it's 2018, yet there's still gender issues, which is, when I was born in the 80s, and I thought we would have been past a lot of this crap by now, and we're not. So that is an interesting point. Like, would our minds change if we looked at it from just a size, shape, even maybe color difference?
That's like the point I was getting at. Is not
but like, again, I think that like we didn't come on here to have a political conversation. That's not what but at the same time, it's an interesting way to look at it. But I think we felt the same, is that the height issue, they've already told us, is an overwhelming technical hurdle that they don't want to tackle. And for me, that's what keeps me from wanting to do it. Of course, I would like that, but then it takes for me, well, why couldn't you put in a female model into the game that was very, very basic, maybe, had similar sized arms, legs, as the
proportions.
Yeah, proportions as the male, and you just plop the female head on her and allow females to be themselves in the game. And the armor all looks the same, but you have females. I don't understand what the reasoning why behind
that won't work for them. So I do product management now.
Okay.
And one of the things I always tell people, I don't care how many draft, estimate, temporary you put on a date. It's in black and white. For some people, it will be set in stone.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that behavior here in Star Citizen
Yeah.
with the schedules, right?
Yep.
If they drop a poor quality, half-ass female avatar in this game, I don't care what they're going to do to it later. For them, publicity-wise, it will be set in stone for some people
Gotcha.
because it will get flashed everywhere.
Yep. And every
That
answer
this
the
is
call
how
I come
long
on
they
here.
took, and they got $210 million.
Yeah.
And this is the best that,
Yeah.
they can't go that route.
And every
They
answer the
can't do
call
it.
I come
They
on
have to
here, and
wait
I
till it's
always
better.
try and take it that way. It's like, well, why don't they just put a shitty version in and then fix it later? And it's never the answer, but I try every answer the call to try and convince people to do it. But it's never the right answer. And I'm always convinced by you guys how stupid it is. But I always say it every topic that we go into. I'm like, why don't we just make it a simple way? Let's do it just really simple at first and then make it the way they want it later. And everyone's just like, no, you're dumb, Mike. Stop. You're dumb.
That is a good point, though.
The same way
Yeah.
I roasted Pirates of the Burning Sea when I had that female character, people would roast them.
Yeah,
No,
that's
they
true.
can't.
That's true.
That is a good point, though, because a lot of what they're doing is like basic implementation. So why should the female character be like, oh, it has to be done like perfect the first time?
Hmm.
Like I definitely understand, like you don't want like a half-done job,
But it didn't
Like,
need
you
to
don't
be
want it to be, like,
perfect.
broken.
It doesn't
Yeah,
even
but
be
I
perfect,
feel
but
like
it can't be like he said,
Yeah.
use the male body and slap on a female head. I mean, that's Pirates of the Burning Sea example. That's not going to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
People
but I
will
feel like-
roast that.
But they definitely will. Like it'll be horrible for their like marketing. But that's sort of what we're getting now, right? Is we're getting like the slap on sort of like, oh, this is like the first implementation of mining. I'm sure it's going to completely change down the road, or the first implementation of like the cargo. Like originally, wasn't it supposed to be like physical boxes? I haven't been following
still
Star
will
Citizen's
be,
development
yeah.
for a little while. Yeah, but like right now, it's not, right?
No.
It's just like a really dodgy implementation.
Yeah.
Well, not dodgy, but
Not dodgy.
Not
yeah.
dodgy, but everything
close,
pops
but
in
it's
and pops
perfect.
out. Yeah, which
Yeah.
is not
yeah,
what's going to happen.
and there's like barely any like physicalization of it.
Hmm.
You just see it there, and then
Yeah.
it disappears and reappears.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
I
it's-
think
it was-
CR is right. They can't do that. They simply can't do it.
No.
This isn't a game that you buy off the shelf where people know what they're getting when they buy it and females could choose. Yeah, I'm not buying that game. This is a game where females have backed it.
Yeah.
So they have to treat it with a level of sensitivity, and CR realizes that.
And they actually
Yeah,
have
and I
those
think-
numbers. So they know what percentage of the community is male
Right.
versus female. And they've clearly made the female model okay, in my opinion, they've clearly made the female model a priority. But obviously there were technical hurdles getting it to the place where we are now, which what we saw in ATV, I would assume, Alysianah and Weirder, that you're both happy with what we saw, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I like.
I mean, I'm
especially
ecstatic
the
with
art
it.
from Jay Lee.
Oh my god, with
to
the
see Chloe.
with the like the dapper characters.
yeah.
Oh my god,
yeah.
they look so cool.
Is that like the 1920 ones or whatever they were?
Yeah.
What was the year?
Yeah.
Okay.
the 20s.
They-
Yeah, they
Yeah.
look so cool, and it so fits the Hurston. Just the space of Hurston that they put in the central business district.
Yeah,
I could
it
just
does.
see people walking around like that there. It was very cool. And I guess that's the big thing is even as a male and I think Weirder, you don't have anything else to add, or do you?
No, that was pretty much my only point.
Okay. And I'll leave you in the call while I say this is, at the same time, like a lot of you guys mentioned, when I watched a female first, because a lot of people are coming in and playing Star Citizen, when I watched a female come in and say, oh, I can't create myself, that's weird. And then people say, oh, it's coming. When I watched some of the bigger guys come in, like Lyric and Giant Waffle, a lot of the comments that were made from them, from the male perspective, is, well, there's no women walking around. That's weird. Like there's all guys
yeah,
here.
it's unnatural.
It's unnatural. It's weird. It doesn't make it give you that immersion. And when we have the spaces that we have, like even Port All-Star, something that's an old asset compared to what we have now. Just seeing all males walk around, some of them with man buns. At least we have longer hair, there, but it doesn't feel real yet. And I've had moments where the game feels real, but it's more when I'm by myself and I'm flying in my ship and I'm, dropping cargo off and getting into fights with people in other ships. But when I'm in those situations where in crowds or lots of NPCs around, I don't have that immersive feeling. And that's the spaces that I feel like we should feel it more so than anywhere else in the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
exactly.
and what
The
takes
other
it away
day-
is the lack of females.
The other day, I don't know if I woke up and caught you yesterday, but it might have been on
Probably
Thursday.
2 days ago, yeah.
You were asking what period would we live in if we could? And
Yeah.
I said, Regency / sort of Victoriana. So 20s is close, right? That is from a style perspective,
Mhm.
that is the style that came sort of right after the style that I like. And I loved Jay Lee's art so much because that is close to the fashion styling from steampunk.
Yep.
And I love steampunk. So I've got my monocle. Yeah, okay, a concierge. And then I've got these kind of clothes. Man, I cannot
You're set.
wait.
Yeah.
I am set. That's why I'm angry about no chat without a helmet, because I want to wear these things. I want to be walking around styling in my clothes and enjoying the environment. So yeah.
They'll definitely have to change that. I never looked at it that way because I don't role play as much, but how will role players role play without, not everybody
a
has
helmet,
a microphone,
yeah.
So yeah, you make a really good point, but I don't know. I think we can probably leave it here. So again, before I'll let you go, but thank you for your call. And I think you made a really good point, is that would we,
Yeah.
If it wasn't male and female, how would we feel? But all right, man, thanks for coming on.
Okay, thanks for having me.
No problem. Bye now.
See ya.
But before we go, obviously more people popped in the Twitch chat and everything like that. So just give where can people find you on social media? And obviously I'll have the links in Twitch and on YouTube, but where can people find you on social media? What are you up to in the future here, as far as content creation goes, and if anything?
Okay, so when the new year comes, I want to get back to creating my content, and I've
Mhm.
been thinking a lot about it. And I don't want to repeat what anyone else is doing because I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I always have to make a choice between gaming or content.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to enjoy the game, but I also like making content.
Mhm.
So I think I'm really going to narrow myself down to sticking with the lore, the universe, and the fiction stories that I narrate on my channel. So it's mostly YouTube. And of course, my stuff hits on my website, alysianahsworld.com first. And then when I have time, I turn it into a show.
Okay.
But I think by Q2 2019, once my house is, recovered from Hurricane Michael and all that, and I have my studio room set back up, I think I'm actually going to stream. But I'm going to stream
Nice.
RP.
Nice.
So I think I'm going to move Night Bus onto the train. I mean, when I saw the train, I was like, oh, come on now. Match made in heaven.
Yep.
Night Bus, which is an allusion to Harry Potter. Sorry, I'm an adult who loves Harry Potter and the Night Bus that they had. I think I'm going to move the show to where there's a live portion, and I'm going to do it on the different train systems that come in the game. But I will be starting up content regularly at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
I already have one story finished, and I have first drafts of 2 others. So I'm trying to get content ready ahead of time
Gotcha.
because my life with work can get really busy. And that's when I have these long breaks where I have to go on hiatus because I just don't have time. So I'm trying to build up a stock of content that
Gotcha.
I'll be able to use in my shows when I'm ready.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I just want to end this with thank you so much for coming on. I thought I couldn't live with myself having the opinions that I had without getting the opinion of the other side, or the side that actually matters in the discussion.
I appreciate it.
You know, and I
you
just
being
didn't think it was
open
fair.
to wanting to talk about it.
Yeah.
It was great.
And I just think there's at times too much testosterone flowing around, because I know when I was very vocal about, I don't feel that we need the female model as quickly as I'm hearing, you know, I flamed Batgirl when she was asking for it, because
I was there.
I know, and I'll I'll admit it, I flamed her, and at the time, that's how I felt, and you know, I think back then it was very obvious that it wasn't ready yet, but at the same time, I knew it wasn't fair to feel the way I did without hearing from you. And then you make the points that I would have never thought about, you know? And it just makes it so much easier to be like, yes, this should be a priority, and this is more important. And then on top of that, the perfect timing with ATV coming online, and then the technology that they're using to bring in the females is actually more important for everything else in the game as a whole, which was more of my concern than anything, is I just want the game to
Right.
come out, you know? And I don't want anything to hold it up, but I'm always along the line of, well, you know, let's do it simpler. But in the end, we don't want simple. That's why we were excited about this game. We want great. So, you know?
It was great being here and
Yeah.
talking to you live for the first time. It was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So I
It was
really
strange
appreciate
at
it.
first, having you in my ears, because normally I'm sleeping when you play, so I'm
Yep.
watching you on an iPad. So I was like, oh my gosh, having them in my ears is kind of strange, but cool.
But no, I really, really appreciate you coming on, and I think everybody really enjoyed the show. So I'm looking forward to seeing how people react in the comments on the YouTube channel and in Reddit and everywhere when this thing
gosh.
goes out there. I think it'll be okay. I think the one great thing about the Star Citizen community is while we do have some immaturity, we have a lot less of it than I've seen in any other gaming community. So I think people would be really open and enjoy this talk that we had, and respect the opinions that people have shared, you know?
Yeah, I believe that. On Reddit, I'm fine. I mean, you know, I'm
Yeah.
on Reddit. So
Yeah.
I think people know who I am on Reddit. But
Yeah.
YouTube, oh, that's going to be a
Yeah,
different
we'll see.
situation.
We'll see on YouTube, but I don't know. All right, so we'll do the little outro here, and I hope you take part in it with me a little bit, Alysianah. So,
Sure.
guys, if you're watching on Twitch chat and you're just coming in like halfway through or whatever, this will go up on YouTube later today. So !YouTube in chat, and you can see last week's episode, and then you can subscribe to the channel and catch this week's episode, and past episodes or whatever. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, you can actually join in, like Cayman, like ASN, like Weirder Chimp, and join in on the conversation for next week. I don't actually have a topic picked out for next week. I usually have it, but I'm still adjusting to my new work schedule, and I usually do things last minute. It's just how I work, so I need to get used to doing things very much ahead of time. So I'll probably put a tweet out and let you guys know what the topic will be. But yeah, so if you're watching on YouTube, come over to twitch.tv/twerk17 and hit the follow button there. We're live every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and that's when we do Answer the Call. So I would love to see you guys come on and enjoy the show. But other than that, yeah, make sure you hit the like button on the YouTube video, subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and I have some very interesting plans as far as YouTube videos go in the future as well. And yeah, guys, we'll see you in the next Answer the Call probably, but maybe video. We'll see if things work out quickly. All right, so bye everybody. Have a good one.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.